The morning started like any other day on my Texas ranch. I had spent decades building everything around me with my own hands. The land had been in my family for generations. Nothing seemed unusual as the sun rose over the hills. I was fixing a section of fence when I noticed dust rising far down the dirt road. At first I assumed it was a delivery truck, but something felt different. Too many vehicles were approaching at once. Several SUVs crossed onto my property without permission. They moved quickly and confidently as if they owned the place. I watched carefully from a distance. My instinct immediately told me trouble was coming. The vehicle stopped near one of my pastures. Workers jumped out carrying equipment and survey stakes. A woman in a business suit appeared to be leading them. They started working before speaking to me. I headed toward the group and asked what they were doing. The workers ignored me at first. Then the woman stepped forward holding a stack of papers. Her confidence suggested she believed she had authority here. She claimed the HOA had approved a project affecting part of my property. According to her paperwork, survey teams would begin work immediately. The problem was simple. My ranch wasn't part of any HOA.c. I reviewed the documents and quickly spotted errors. Property lines were wrong. Ownership information was wrong. Almost everything on the paperwork was inaccurate. Yet the crew kept working as though nothing mattered. Despite my warnings, the workers continued placing stakes. Equipment spread across the field. The entire operation seemed rushed. It looked like they expected nobody would challenge them. I contacted my attorney and explained what was happening. He immediately advised me to document everything. Photos, videos, conversations, vehicle plates. Every detail could become important later. The moment I started recording, their attitude changed. Suddenly they became nervous. Some workers stopped what they were doing. The confidence they had shown earlier started to disappear. The workers began discussing the situation among themselves. Some appeared unsure about the paperwork. Others looked worried after hearing my side of the story. Confusion was spreading through the group. I showed them property records proving ownership. The boundaries were clearly established years ago. There was no legal dispute. Their documents simply didn't match reality. The county maps confirmed everything. Every marker they placed sat squarely on my land. The evidence was undeniable. Yet the HOA representative still insisted they had authorization. Instead of admitting the mistake, she doubled down. She insisted her office had approved everything. Her confidence was fading, but her pride kept pushing her forward. I stayed calm throughout the entire conversation. Anger would solve nothing. Facts and documentation were on my side. The truth had a way of revealing itself eventually. About an hour later, a county land records officer arrived at the ranch. I had requested an official review of the property boundaries. The HOA crew suddenly became much quieter. They knew an independent verification was coming. The officer carefully inspected every survey marker the crew had installed. Using official county GPS records, he compared their locations against the legal property lines. The results were not looking good for the HOA. Within minutes, the officer identified several major errors. The survey stakes were deep inside my property. None of the crew's measurements matched the county records. Their entire operation had been based on incorrect information. The woman leading the project started flipping through her paperwork. Her confidence disappeared almost instantly. She realized the official records directly contradicted everything she had claimed earlier. The officer explained the situation clearly. The property belonged entirely to me. No easement existed. No HOA authority existed. There was absolutely no legal basis for the project they were attempting. Once the fact became undeniable, the workers began pulling the stakes out of the ground. Their earlier confidence had completely vanished. Nobody wanted to continue a project that clearly lacked authorization. The crew started packing up their equipment. Tripods, markers, and measuring tools disappeared back into the vehicles. The operation that had started so aggressively was ending much differently. The HOA representative stepped away to make several phone calls. Judging by her expression, those conversations weren't going well. Someone high up was finally learning what had happened. Shortly afterward, sheriff deputies arrived to document the incident. They listened carefully to both sides and reviewed the county officer's findings. The evidence spoke for itself. The deputies compared the HOA paperwork against official county records. Every major detail favored my position. The mistake wasn't small. It was impossible to ignore. I presented the original property deed that had been passed down through my family. It perfectly matched the county database. There was no uncertainty left. Ownership had been established beyond question. As the afternoon wore on, the crew prepared to leave. Nobody was arguing anymore. Nobody was issuing demands anymore. The reality of the situation had finally settled in. One by one, the SUVs rolled back toward the highway. The dust slowly faded into the distance. The land was quiet again, just as it had been that morning. As the sun began to set, I walked across the property, checking the areas where the crew had worked. Thankfully, the damage was minimal. Most importantly, the ranch remained exactly where it belonged. That day reminded me why documentation matters. Property rights matter. Facts matter. When the dust finally settled, the truth had protected everything my family had worked for across generations.